Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new session. I hope all of you are doing great and preparing really well for your upcoming Kerala HSST PSC exam. And please take care of your health also. The summer is getting quite cruel, right? So please take utmost care of your health. And with that, keep studying. Okay? So, with that being said, let's get started with our session tonight. Let me start by sharing my screen. Yes. I believe the screen is visible to you all now. Yes, now it is. So welcome again to our Kerala HSST PSC exam practice session number 5. Throughout this week, we have been doing this series and it's our 5th session. In case you have missed the previous 4 sessions, you can always go to the live section of our channel and watch the previous videos. All right, okay. So let's move on to the first question for tonight. Here we go. In the short story, Lolly Road, why does the municipal council officially decide to change the name of the main street from Lolly Road to Gandhi Road? It's from Malgudi days of R.K. Narayan, right? Yes. Tell me. Yes, yes. Good evening. It is. Why? To eradicate the memory of the British colonizers and fulfill a civic mandate for nationalism. Okay? The municipal council decides to rename Lolly Road to Gandhi Road in an attempt to erase all traces of British colonial rule and demonstrate their newfound patriotism. Okay? Right. This is from Malgudi days of R.K. Narayan. Correct. Okay, next. According to Jürgen Habermas, which of the following best defines the core project of modernity as envisioned by 18th century Enlightenment philosophers? So it's a question from Jürgen Habermas's work, Modernity and Incomplete Project. Right. Yes. Tell me, what will be the answer here? Which statement here describes the core project of modernity as envisioned by 18th century Enlightenment philosophers? The development of objective science, universal morality, and autonomous art, according to their inner logic and their subsequent application to enrich everyday life. Habermas argues that the Enlightenment project aimed to promote human society by dividing specialized spheres of knowledge like science, morality, and art, and utilizing them to liberate everyday practice from illusion, superstition, and domination. So, this was the idea of modernity as it was promoted by the Enlightenment philosophers of 18th century. Right? Yes, very good. Which Shakespearean play provides the haunting, recurring lines? Fear no more the heat of the sun, that echoes through the minds of Clarissa and Septimus Warren Smith in Virginia Woolf's novel Mrs. Dalloway, published in 1925. So, in this novel, we find this line many times throughout the novel, right? That fear no more the heat of the sun. So this line has been borrowed from which play of Shakespeare? This line has been borrowed from which play of Shakespeare? It's a line which is repeated throughout the novel Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, first published in 1925. Yes, this is a line from Shakespeare's Cymbeline. Shakespeare's Cymbeline, right? And these lines are sung at the funeral of Fidele, and this line represents peace and cessation of suffering for both Clarissa and Septimus Warren Smith. In the context of this novel, fear no more the heat of the sun means your fears, your sufferings are coming to an end. You're becoming fearless. And this line was actually sung at the funeral of Fidele in Cymbeline. And in the context of this novel, it signifies the cessation of sufferings of Clarissa Dalloway and Septimus Warren Smith. Septimus Warren Smith was a soldier who had participated in the First World War. And in the post-war times, we see that he's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder or shell shock. So this line here signifies the end of their fear, their anxieties, their sufferings. Okay, clear? Right. So this line we can find in Mrs. Dalloway. Next. What specific Elizabethan allusion does John Donne make when the speaker states that the phoenix riddle hath more wit by us? This line can be found in the poem Canonization, right? And what specific Elizabethan allusion does John Donne is making here in this line from his poem Canonization? That the phoenix riddle hath more wit by us. Tell me, I hope all of you have read this poem by now. It's a very important poem, right? Yes. Yes, it implies that unlike the phoenix, which is a singular entity, the lovers are united into a single gender neutral being. Right. Yes. The phoenix myth is often interpreted as a representation of spiritual purity and resurrection. Here, Donne wittily twists this by implying that the lovers, by becoming one, actually achieve a higher, more complex form of unity and regeneration than the mythical phoenix itself. So here the lovers are superior to the phoenix. Okay? Got it? Very good. Very good. Next question. The title of Anita Desai's novel, Clear Light of Day, is drawn from the modernist poetry of which prominent literary figure? So this title, Clear Light of Day, has been borrowed from whom? This title, Clear Light of Day, has been borrowed from whom? Tell me, yes. This title has been borrowed from T.S. Eliot. This title has been borrowed from T.S. Eliot. Okay? Right. Very good. Next. What is the symbolic significance of the river Alf as utilized by Coleridge in the poem Kubla Khan? In Kubla Khan, we see this a reference to the river Alf. So what is the symbolic significance of this river Alf? Tell me. Tell me. What would it mean in the context of this poem Kubla Khan? What's the symbolic significance of this river Alf? Very good. Very good. Correct. Here, this river Alf symbolizes the untamable subconscious meandering through the dark caverns of the human mind. So, when in the poem Kubla Khan, Coleridge or the speaker says that the river Alf running through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. It serves as a metaphor for the mysterious, unknowable depths of the human unconscious and the subconscious journey of creative genius. Okay, so here River Alf symbolizes our untamable subconscious, which is meandering through the dark caverns of the human mind. Because we know that Kubla Khan by Coleridge, it's a meditation on creative genius. So, what role does the unconscious of the poets play in that process? So this river is symbolizing that untamable subconscious. Okay, very good, very good. Next. Okay, so we have already started our West Bengal assistant professor interview workshop. We already have had our first session on this, and more sessions will follow. So if you're planning to attend these interviews for your assistant professor jobs, do consider joining us and learning with our experts. Okay, great. And I have already shown you the timetable that we will be following. We have already completed our session on contemporary literature. Next, we will move on to traditional literature. Okay, great. Next. What is the symbolic significance of the lions Santiago dreams about on the African beaches? It's a question from The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Here, the old man Santiago, he dreams about the lions on the African beaches. What is the symbolic significance of these lions? Tell me. What is the symbolic significance of these lions? Yes. They symbolize what? They represent what? His youth, vitality, pride, and fearlessness. Throughout the novel or throughout this novella, we see that Santiago dreams of the golden lions on the beaches of Africa, which are meant to evoke the strength and nobility of his youth and his fearless spirit. Right? Yes, very good. Next. According to Foucault, the juridical or traditional conception of power, often shared by both liberal and Marxist theories, frequently reduces power to what primary mechanism? It's a question from Foucault. Foucault is very important. It frequently reduces power to what primary mechanism? A right of sovereignty that is possessed or transferred. Okay. A right of sovereignty that is possessed or transferred. All right. Okay. Next. In the poem Trance of Waiting, the poet describes his soul as bathing in a mighty release. What does this release signify in the context of Sri Aurobindo's spiritual philosophy? What does release mean here? If you keep in mind his spiritual philosophy. Release, mighty release. It will be what? Yes, it is what? Freedom. Here, release means freedom from the bounds of mundane thought and the wheelings of worldly existence. So here the mighty release, bathed in by the spirit, is the lifting of the soul above mundane realms, freeing the inner consciousness from worldly preoccupations and mental chatter. So it's a liberation of the soul from this worldly chaos. Okay? Right. Very good. Next. In Dryden's Mac Flecknoe, Richard Flecknoe famously passes his mantle of dullness to Thomas Shadwell. Which specific ancient city is designated in the poem as the cultural and physical center of this dull empire? It's a textual question, and I hope you know the text well by now. Which specific ancient city is designated in the poem as the cultural and physical center of this dull empire? It is the nursery, right? The nursery. Macflecknoe by Dryden designates the nursery. It's a theatrical training ground in London for acting students. So this work designates the nursery as this as the center of this dull empire, and it symbolizes the cradle of amateurish low-brow theatre. This place, the nursery, it symbolizes the cradle of amateurish low-brow theatre. So please remember this nursery, it's a theatrical training ground in London for acting students. Okay? Next. Which Greek dramatic structure did T.S. Eliot explicitly adapt to provide a structural parallel and commentary in Murder in the Cathedral? Which Greek dramatic structure was adapted by Eliot? Tell me. Yes, yes. So what is it? It is the use of a chorus with no individual names but a collective voice. So in Murder in the Cathedral, T.S. Eliot uses the women of Canterbury as the Greek chorus to voice the fears, hopes, and philosophical commentary of humanity, linking the play to classical Greek tragedy. Linking the play to classical Greek tragedy. Okay, got it? So T.S. Eliot utilizes the women of Canterbury as chorus. As a chorus. Okay. Next question. Virginia Woolf, in her essay A Room of One's Own, invents the fictional character Judith Shakespeare as William Shakespeare's equally talented sister. What is the tragic climax of Judith's narrative in the essay? So what does Virginia Woolf tell us would happen to Judith Shakespeare in an essentially patriarchal world? Even though she has equal talents, still what would happen to her because she's a woman? What would happen to her because she's a woman, though with equal talents like Shakespeare? Though with equal talents like Shakespeare, but she's a woman, and that would decide her fate, right? In an essentially patriarchal social structure. What would happen to her? What is the tragic climax of Judith's narrative? She dies by suicide after becoming pregnant by a theater manager. That's what happens to Judith Shakespeare, right? So here Judith Shakespeare's story illustrates how social oppression and lack of opportunity prevented women from flourishing in arts during the Elizabethan era. During the Elizabethan era. She dies by suicide after becoming pregnant by a theater manager. Okay, very good. So that's all for tonight from our side. I really hope you guys loved the session and enjoyed answering these questions. And if you want, you can join our West Bengal Assistant Professor Interview Workshop. This workshop is going on right now, and here's the schedule. We have already completed contemporary literatures. Next, on 25th of May, we will do traditional literatures. All right. So thank you. And it's the weekend. Do have a lovely weekend ahead. Take care of yourself and keep studying. We will see you all again on Monday at 9:30 p.m. Okay? So by then, take care and do have a lovely weekend. Okay? Bye. Good.